Let me tell you something. Life has a way of humbling you. No matter who you are, what you've accomplished, or where you're headed, there comes a moment when you realize that you cannot do it alone. And in that moment, you need to ask yourself, who am I trusting to guide my steps? Now, I'm not just talking about believing in God when things are going well. I'm talking about putting God first every single day. When you wake up in the morning, before you even reach for your phone, you've got to give thanks. Before you make a move, before you take on the world, life is not promised to be easy. You will stumble, you will face trials, you will feel like the weight of the world is on your shoulders. But here's the good news. When you put God first, you never walk alone. When you make him your foundation, even in your darkest hour, you'll find light. We live in a world that tells you to chase success, fame, money. But let me tell you something I've learned. None of that will fill you up. None of that will sustain you when the storms come. When you put God first, you realize that the things of this world are temporary, but his love, his grace, his guidance, that's eternal. And putting God first doesn't mean you won't face challenges. No, it means you'll have the strength to face them. It means you'll have peace when the world is chaotic. It means you'll see the bigger picture, even when the pieces of your life don't seem to fit. So I leave you with this. Every decision you make, every step you take, ask yourself, am I putting God first? Because when you do, you'll find purpose, you'll find joy, and you'll find that no matter where life takes you, you're never alone. Life has a way of teaching us lessons when we least expect it. I remember a moment in my own life that changed the way I look at everything. It was one of those times when I thought I had it all figured out, when I thought I was in control. You know the feeling. Things are going your way, the road seems clear, and success feels like it's within your grasp. That was me, walking tall and proud, thinking my plans were perfect, my steps unshakable. But then, out of nowhere, life threw me a curveball, a situation I couldn't handle on my own. It was humbling, to say the least, the kind of moment that makes you stop and ask yourself, what am I really standing on? What am I building my life on? I realized then that my plans, my efforts, even my best intentions, none of them were enough without a foundation greater than myself. That moment of clarity didn't come easy. It's hard to admit when you're not in control. It's hard to let go of the pride that says, I've got this. But I had to, because deep down, I knew I didn't have it all together. I knew I needed something bigger, stronger, and more constant than anything this world could offer. So I asked myself a powerful question. Who am I putting first in my life? And I want to ask you the same thing today. Think about it. Who's guiding your decisions? Who's lighting your path? Is it you, your ambitions, the opinions of others? Or is it something greater? The truth is, we all put something first. For some, it's success. For others, it's relationships, recognition, or even material things. And while those might seem fulfilling for a moment, they never last. They can't carry you through the storms of life. I learned that the hard way. You see, when everything fell apart for me, I realized how fragile those things really were. The things I thought would bring me peace and happiness, achievements, applause, approval, none of them could hold me up when the ground beneath me started shaking. And it's in those moments when life tests you that you truly discover what you're standing on. That's when I turned to God, not as an afterthought, not as a last resort, but as the foundation of everything. I made a decision to put him first, and let me tell you, it changed everything. It didn't mean my problems disappeared overnight. It didn't mean the road suddenly became easy, but it gave me clarity, strength, and peace that I had never experienced before. I remember sitting alone, feeling overwhelmed, and just praying, God, I don't know what to do, but I trust you. And in that moment, something shifted. It wasn't that my circumstances immediately changed, but my perspective did. I stopped trying to control everything, stopped trying to carry the weight of the world on my shoulders, and started trusting in something far greater than myself. And let me tell you, that trust wasn't misplaced. Because when you put God first, He makes a way. It might not always look the way you expect, and it might not happen on your timeline, but He always comes through. I want you to think about your own life right now. Think about the challenges you're facing, the dreams you're chasing, the fears that keep you up at night. And I want to ask you, who are you putting first? Because that question, that one choice, can change everything. When you put God first, you're not just saying, I believe. You're saying, I trust. I surrender. I'm ready to let go of my way and follow yours. And that takes courage. It takes humility, but it also brings freedom. The kind of freedom that comes from knowing you're not walking alone. So, what are you holding on to right now that's keeping you from putting God first? Is it fear, pride, doubt? Whatever it is, I encourage you to let it go, because when you do, you'll discover a peace and purpose that nothing else can offer. Life is unpredictable. There will be highs and lows, victories and defeats, but through it all, one thing remains constant: God's love and guidance. When you put Him first, you build your life on a foundation that cannot be shaken. And so I ask you again, who are you putting first? Let this be the moment when you make the choice to trust Him, to follow Him, and to put Him at the center of everything you do. Because when you do, you'll not only find strength for today, but hope for tomorrow. And that, my friends, is the kind of foundation that can withstand anything life throws your way. Life has a way of teaching us about the importance of humility and faith, often through experiences that challenge our sense of control and understanding. It's easy to feel confident when things are going smoothly, when the plans we've made fall into place and success seems inevitable. But true humility and faith aren't built in moments of ease. They're forged in the fire of uncertainty, failure, and even loss. Humility begins with recognizing that we are not the ultimate architects of our destiny. As much as we plan and prepare, life often takes unexpected turns. It's in those moments, when we're faced with challenges we can't solve on our own, that humility whispers to us, you are not in control, and that's okay. This isn't a sign of weakness. It's an acknowledgement of reality. We're human, limited in our perspective and incapable of predicting or controlling every detail of life. Faith, on the other hand, is the bridge that helps us move forward when the road is uncertain. It's the quiet assurance that even when we can't see the full picture, God is working behind the scenes. Faith doesn't require us to have all the answers. It simply asks us to trust in the one who does. When you combine humility and faith, something remarkable happens. You stop carrying the weight of the world on your shoulders. You realize that life isn't just about your plans or your strength. It's about leaning into something greater, trusting that God's purpose is higher than your understanding. In today's world, humility can often be seen as a weakness. We're encouraged to chase success, promote ourselves, and stand out at all costs. The idea of stepping back, admitting our limitations, or putting others before ourselves isn't celebrated as much as it should be. But humility is not about thinking less of yourself. It's about thinking of yourself less. It's about understanding your place in the bigger picture and recognizing that every gift, talent, and opportunity you have is not entirely your own doing, but a blessing from God. Faith complements humility by giving it direction. Without faith, humility can feel like surrendering to chaos or uncertainty. But with faith, humility becomes a powerful acknowledgement of God's sovereignty. It's saying, I may not understand why this is happening, but I trust that you do. I may not have all the answers, but I believe that you are guiding me. Faith and humility are especially important in times of success. When things are going well, it's easy to take credit for our achievements and forget the source of our blessings. Humility reminds us that no matter how hard we've worked, we didn't get here alone. Faith encourages us to remain grounded, to give thanks, and to use our success not just for our benefit, but for the greater good. On the flip side, in moments of failure or struggle, humility and faith are our anchors. Humility allows us to acknowledge our mistakes without being consumed by them. It helps us learn, grow, and move forward. Faith reminds us that our failures don't define us and that God can use even our lowest moments for His purpose. Together, they give us the courage to keep going, knowing that we are never alone. I remember a story someone once shared with me. It was about a man who had reached the peak of his career. By all worldly measures, he was a success, but he felt empty, like something was missing. Despite his accomplishments, he realized he was chasing things that wouldn't last. That's when he turned to God and made a decision to live differently. He started leading with humility, putting others first, and trusting God in all aspects of his life. And while his career didn't disappear, his focus shifted. He found peace, purpose, and fulfillment, not in the applause of others, but in living a life aligned with God's plan. That story has stuck with me because it's a reminder that humility and faith are not just for the hard times. They're for every moment of our lives. They're what keep us grounded when we're flying high and what lift us up when we're feeling low. They remind us that we are part of something greater than ourselves and that our lives are not just about what we achieve, but about who we become. And that who we become, in a world that often glorifies pride and self-reliance, choosing humility and faith takes courage. It requires us to step back from the noise and say, I trust you, Lord, more than I trust myself. It means letting go of the need to control everything and trusting that God's plan is better than anything we could imagine. So, no matter where you are in life, whether you're celebrating a victory or facing a challenge, take a moment to reflect. Ask yourself, am I living with humility? Am I trusting God with all aspects of my life? Because when you do, you'll find a strength that isn't your own, a peace that surpasses understanding, and a purpose that goes beyond anything this world can offer. Humility and faith aren't just nice ideas, they're necessities. They're the foundation for a life that's not only meaningful, but also deeply fulfilling. And when you live with humility and faith, you'll not only change your own life, you'll inspire others to do the same.